Have you ever stopped to think about how a river could literally build an entire country? Not with machines and concrete, but just with mud and water? Well, today we're going to look at one of the most amazing examples of this on the planet, the Nile Delta in Egypt.
So how is that even possible? For thousands and thousands of years, the Nile River wasn't just flowing, it was on a massive construction project. It was busy creating this vast green triangle of land that would become the absolute heart of Egypt.
To really get how this happened, we've got to go back in time, and I mean way back, millions of years actually, to see how this incredible landscape was born. And it all comes down to one key ingredient.
And that magic ingredient? It's called silt. Every single year, the Nile would flood, and it would carry these tiny nutrient-packed particles all the way from the mountains in East Africa. This wasn't just regular old dirt. No way. This was the raw material for building a nation.
Okay, so how does this actually work? The process is surprisingly simple. Think of the river as a super-fast delivery truck. Step 1, every year it floods and picks up its cargo, that nutrient-rich silt. Step 2, as it reaches the wide, open Mediterranean Sea, it's like it hits a giant open space and just slows right down. And that brings us to step 3. The water is moving so slowly now, it just can't carry that heavy silt anymore. So what does it do? It drops it. And finally, step 4, you just repeat that for millions of years. And boom, layer after layer, you've built new land right out of the water.
And we are not talking about a small patch of land here. The result is a delta that covers about 24,000 square kilometers. That is massive. It's this huge, green fan of fertile land that's a total oasis right in the middle of a huge desert.
So, okay, the river builds this huge piece of land. But why did it become the place to live, the absolute center of life in Egypt? Let's take a look at what makes this region so different from everything around it.
Well, this chart really shows the incredible contrast. Most of Egypt is harsh desert, right? But the delta, it has a completely different Mediterranean climate. All that really means is you get these wet winters and much milder temperatures. And when you mix that kind of weather with all that river water, well, you get the perfect recipe for life to absolutely thrive.
It's no wonder the delta earned the nickname the breadbasket of Egypt. And it's a perfect description, isn't it? For literally thousands of years, this one area has been responsible for feeding the entire country.
That super fertile soil, a gift from the river, is just perfect for farming. You can grow pretty much anything. We're talking cotton, rice, corn, and tons of different vegetables. And get this, because the weather's so good and there's plenty of water, farmers can often get multiple harvests in just 1 year. And you know the saying, where there's food and water, you're going to find people. A lot of people. Today, over 60 million people call the Nile Delta home. That makes it one of the most crowded places on the entire planet, all packed into this land that the river itself built.
But then, in the 20th century, humans decided to change the river's ancient rules. And this was a massive turning point in the delta's long story. I'm talking about the Aswan High Dam. It was finished in 1970, and this gigantic engineering project was built to control the Nile. And in doing so, it totally changed the relationship between the river and the delta. Here's the thing though, the dam came with a huge trade-off. On the good side, it stopped the dangerous annual floods, gave farmers a steady supply of water all year long, and generated a ton of clean electricity for Egypt. But, and this is a huge but, it also stopped the flow of that precious nutrient-rich silt. So, in solving the problem of flooding, a brand new problem was created. The delta's natural life support system was basically switched off.
And this leads us directly to the biggest challenge the delta is facing right now. A problem that, ironically, was created because the dam was so successful.
The problem is called coastal erosion. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. The sea is literally washing away the edge of the land.
Think about it like this. For millions of years, the river was adding land to the coast. Sure, the sea was always trying to take some of it back, but the river always delivered more. So, what do you think happens when those deliveries stop?
The sea starts to win. Without that new sediment being dropped off to replace what's lost, the Mediterranean is slowly but surely reclaiming the delta's coastline.
And this has some really serious ripple effects. Productive farmland just vanishes into the water. Entire villages right on the coast are at risk, and salt water can even creep underground, contaminating the fresh water and poisoning the soil that farmers completely depend on.
So, that brings us to today, where the future of the Nile Delta is still being written.
It's facing these modern challenges that are going to require some brand new, really innovative solutions.
Let's just quickly run through this incredible story one more time. It starts millions of years ago with the slow, natural creation of the delta. Then, for thousands of years, it's the cradle of a great civilization. In 1970, it's changed forever by the Aswan Dam. And that lands us right here, today, where it faces a very uncertain future.
The two biggest threats are crystal clear. On one side, you've got sea levels rising because of climate change, which puts more and more pressure on the coast. And at the same time, the lack of new silt means the delta can't build itself up to fight back anymore.
Which leaves us with a final, really important question. The Nile Delta is Egypt's greatest natural gift, a homeland built entirely by a river. As our world keeps changing, can human ingenuity find a way to protect this precious, incredible land for generations to come?